The stage was a vortex of chaos, a blinding, screaming maelstrom of light and sound. The air was thick with anticipation, and for Xiao Zhan, it felt like he was drowning in it. This wasn't just another performance, it was his return to the live stage after a long, grueling period of public scrutiny. The media had been relentless, the pressure suffocating. His public smile was a fragile shield, and backstage, he was trembling. He clutched the microphone, a cold, solid weight in his hand, and stared at the entrance to the stage, a dark, gaping void that was the portal to a million pairs of eyes. He felt profoundly alone. But he wasn't. Miles away, in a world of flashing lights and roaring crowds, a quiet, almost invisible figure stood. Wang Yibo, a master of controlled action, was not in the audience or a VIP lounge. He was in the backstage wings, a shadow in the chaos. He was not there to be seen. He was there to see. To witness. He was a silent sentinel, a guardian in the chaos. His presence was a deliberate, profound act of love, a promise he had made to himself weeks ago. He wouldn't be a distraction. He would be a silent force. He wouldn't be seen, but he would be felt. The mind-blowing scene began as Xiao Zhan walked onto the stage. The roar of the crowd was a physical wave, and for a second, his composure wavered. He felt the familiar anxiety, the cold knot of fear in his stomach. He looked out at the sea of faces, and his mind went blank. The melody of the song, which he had practiced 1,000 times, felt 1,000,000 miles away. He instinctively looked to the backstage wings, a place the audience could not see. He was looking for nothing in particular, just a point of calm in a world of chaos. And there, in the dim, chaotic light of the wings, a single solitary figure was standing. It wasn't Wang Yibo's face he saw, but his hands. Wang Yibo was not just standing there. His hands, with their familiar, graceful fingers, were held in a specific, comforting posture. It was their silent, private code. A signal that said, "I am here. I am watching. You are not alone." The sight of those hands, so close, yet so far, was enough to ground Xiao Zhan, to turn the roaring crowd into a quiet hum, a manageable white noise. He began to sing, his voice a quiet, powerful echo in the cavernous stadium. As he sang, his eyes, with the unerring precision of a homing beacon, would dart to the wings, to the single solitary figure. And the most mind-blowing detail wasn't what Wang Yibo did. It was what he didn't do. He didn't move. He didn't applaud. He simply stood there, a quiet, unwavering study in silent, focused support. As Xiao Zhan's voice grew stronger, the light on Yibo's face, a single beam from a stray stage light, seemed to grow brighter, his expression a pure, unadulterated portrait of pride. He was a silent, unmoving audience of one, a fortress of calm in the chaos. The climax arrived in the middle of the song, a powerful, emotional crescendo. Xiao Zhan's voice soared, a beautiful testament to his resilience. He closed his eyes, lost in the emotion of the music. When he opened them, the backstage was different. Wang Yibo was gone. For a second, a flicker of panic surged through him. He was alone again. But then he saw it. A new, equally impactful gesture took his place. A single spotlight, which should have been off, flickered just for a second, illuminating a specific spot on the stage. It was a spot where a single, unadorned, perfectly ordinary rock sat. It was a small detail, a thing a professional eye would have discarded as a stage prop. But Xiao Zhan knew it. It was the same kind of rock from a quiet beach they had once visited in a secret getaway. A small, but powerful reminder of a private moment, a shared memory. The gesture was so subtle, so beautifully choreographed that no one else noticed, but it was a lifeline for Xiao Zhan. It was a silent, constant presence that said, "Remember this. You are strong. You are loved." The performance ended. Xiao Zhan was met with thunderous applause, a roar of triumph. He bowed, his heart full. He looked to the wings one last time. Wang Yibo was there again, a ghost in the crowd, his face a quiet, unwavering study in pride. He didn't applaud. He didn't wave. He simply stood, his gaze a silent, profound confirmation. It was all the applause Xiao Zhan needed. Hours later, the cameras and microphones swarmed Xiao Zhan. The first question was about the performance. He gave the expected answer, but the reporter followed up with a question about his calmness. He paused, his gaze finding the camera. I felt a quiet kind of support, he said, his voice low and honest. From the wings. It was a kind of silence that was louder than any applause. The cameras, and the public, were intrigued but baffled. What was he talking about? The final mind-blowing scene didn't happen in the studio. It happened in the quiet of their apartment, a world away from the noise. A single fan, a sharp-eyed observer who recorded the entire event, watched the footage. They noticed the brief flicker of the spotlight, the single rock on the stage. They cross-referenced it with an old video of a conversation where Wang Yibo talked about a perfectly ordinary rock he once found. It was a tiny, insignificant detail to anyone else, but it was the final beautiful piece of the puzzle. The fan created a side-by-side video, the concert footage with the rock, the old interview with the rock's description. The conclusion was undeniable. Wang Yibo wasn't just in the wings. He was orchestrating a silent symphony of support, a beautiful, secret show just for Xiao Zhan. The public, which had been looking for a grand public confession, found a truth far more profound and beautiful, a love story that was performed in the quiet, hidden moments, a secret so pure it could be felt by 1,000,000 people but only fully understood by 2. The video of Wang Yibo's silent, unwavering support from the backstage wings had become a cultural phenomenon. It wasn't just a clip, it was a legend. It was a testament to a connection so profound it had broken through the barrier of 100,000 screaming fans and 1,000,000 flashing lights. The public had watched the silent, powerful exchange, and they were no longer looking for secrets. They were looking for the next piece of their love story. The narrative had shifted completely. They were no longer a secret to be uncovered, they were a love story to be witnessed. A few months later, at a major award ceremony, the air was filled with a new, profound sense of reverence. The questions from reporters were no longer intrusive. They were laced with a genuine curiosity about a love so honest it had transcended the need for words. The mind-blowing scene began when a host on the red carpet, microphone in hand, asked a question that was simple, but laced with a deep and intimate understanding. "Mr. Xiao," the host began, her voice warm, "the public saw the most beautiful thing that night on the red carpet. They saw your protective gesture toward Mr. Wang. It was a very powerful image. What was going through your mind in that moment?" The entire crowd went silent. In the past, this question would have been a moment of intense awkwardness, a polite but firm deflection. They were actors, not a public display. But now, in the face of a love that had become a source of strength, something different happened. Wang Yibo, who had been listening intently, looked at the host. He didn't smile his usual public smile. He gave her a quiet, knowing look, and then, his voice a low, confident rumble, he spoke. "I wasn't thinking," he said simply. "It wasn't a choice. It was a reaction." He then looked at Xiao Zhan, a silent conversation passing between them that only they could understand. He then, in a slow, deliberate motion, in full view of the cameras, reached out and, with an effortless, graceful movement that was a mirror of the viral photo, gently placed his hand on Xiao Zhan's back. This time, it wasn't accidental. It was a conscious, public gesture that confirmed the truth of the photo. It was a silent, beautiful, and deeply personal act. The cameras, which had been trained on his face, quickly pivoted to capture the moment. It wasn't a performance, it was a public display of a private, intimate truth. It was a silent, beautiful confirmation that their love was not a script to be followed, but a reality to be lived. The host, a seasoned professional who had seen everything, was speechless. The crowd didn't erupt, they simply watched in a collective, stunned silence. The mind-blowing truth was that they had not just confirmed their love. They had just performed a piece of their real lives in front of the entire world. The line between their art and their reality had completely blurred, and in that moment, they didn't care. The final scene unfolded hours later, in the quiet sanctuary of their car. The world outside was celebrating their bravery, calling them courageous. Xiao Zhan was sitting next to Wang Yibo, who, despite the long night, looked more at peace than he ever had. "The public thinks you're brave for what you just did," Xiao Zhan murmured, his voice soft with emotion. "You just told the world that our love is real." Wang Yibo looked at him, and his rare, genuine smile touched his lips. "I didn't do it to be brave, Zhanji," he said, his voice low and confident. "I did it because I'm not afraid anymore. The movie scene was just a mirror. The real story is us. And the most powerful love stories are the ones that don't need a script." The final, breathtaking truth of their love story wasn't a grand, dramatic confession or a hidden symbol. It was the simple, beautiful fact that their love had become a source of peace, a quiet, unwavering force that had transformed their fear into courage. They had, in the end, not just revealed a secret. They had set themselves free. The moment Wang Yibo brushed the imaginary lint from Xiao Zhan's suit at the premiere, the world held its breath. It wasn't just a gesture, it was an echo, a conscious mirroring of the movie scene that had just captivated millions. The cameras didn't just capture a moment, they captured the truth, a public confirmation of a private love. The internet, instead of erupting in a frenzied explosion of headlines, fell into a kind of stunned, reverent silence. It was as if they had been handed the final beautiful piece of a puzzle they had been trying to solve for years. The narrative had shifted completely. They were no longer a secret to be uncovered, they were a love story to be witnessed. The next mind-blowing scene wasn't a public event but a quiet, intimate moment that unfolded in the sanctuary of their home. A few weeks after the premiere, they were sitting together, watching old fan compilations, the kind of videos that meticulously charted their history through fleeting glances and shared laughter. They watched the footage from the very beginning of their journey, a time when they were still navigating the complex waters of friendship and something deeper. Wang Yibo, who had always been a man of immense control, watched himself on screen, his face a careful mask of cool detachment. He saw the way he would refuse to make eye contact, the rigid set of his shoulders. And then, they saw a moment that neither of them had ever fully processed before. It was a clip from a show, a quick, almost imperceptible moment. Xiao Zhan had just finished speaking, and his face was alight with genuine, unfiltered emotion. The camera cut to Wang Yibo, whose back was to the camera. But in the footage, he saw himself, without thinking, turn his head ever so slightly. A tiny, almost invisible gesture. His gaze, in that moment, was not on a host or a camera, but on Xiao Zhan's face. He wasn't acting. He wasn't posing. He was just watching, a quiet, unblinking witness to a beauty he was too afraid to acknowledge. The most mind-blowing truth was not that the love had developed over time, but that it had been there all along, hidden in plain sight, woven into the fabric of their lives. Wang Yibo paused the video. He looked at Xiao Zhan, his eyes wide with a new, profound understanding. "I was so afraid back then," he confessed, his voice a low, honest rumble. "I thought if I didn't acknowledge it, the world couldn't see it. I thought if I didn't look at you, no one could see how much I loved you. I was trying to hide it from the world, but I was also trying to hide it from myself." Xiao Zhan reached for his hand, his fingers lacing with his. "You were never hiding it from me," he said, his voice soft. "Your eyes were always louder than your words. I knew. I always knew." The public saw a movie scene that mirrored their lives. The truth was that their lives had been a continuous, beautiful movie scene from the very beginning. The final mind-blowing scene didn't involve cameras or flashbulbs. It happened on a quiet Sunday afternoon, in a simple cafe, a world away from the chaos of their celebrity lives. They were sitting at a small table, a few feet from the window, their faces relaxed, their guards completely down. A young woman, a fan with a look of immense courage in her eyes, walked over to their table. She wasn't holding a phone for a photo or a pen for an autograph. She simply looked at them, and with a voice full of quiet reverence, she said, "Thank you." Wang Yibo, who had been a fortress of guarded silence for years, simply smiled, a genuine, unbidden curve of his lips that was no longer rare. "For what?" he asked, his voice gentle. "For being yourselves," she replied, her voice thick with emotion. "For showing us that the most powerful love stories are not in the movies, but in real life. You gave me the courage to not be afraid to be who I am." And with that, she turned and walked away, leaving them in a profound, understanding silence. The ultimate truth, the final, breathtaking revelation, was not that their love was just a secret that had been revealed. It was that it had become something more. It had become a gift to the world. A source of courage and hope, a silent, powerful testament to the idea that love, in its purest form, has no need for a script, for it is a force that is far more powerful and beautiful than any words could ever describe.